Animal Crossing: New Horizons was released in 2020, marking the first main entry in Nintendo's long-running life simulation series since New Leaf in 2012. The game launched just before the global COVID-19 pandemic, a period when people suddenly had a lot of time on their hands. At the time, it quickly became one of the standout titles for the Switch. If you still don't own Animal Crossing: New Horizons, in the words of former Nintendo president Reggie Fils-Aimé, there's a problem with you. The game dominated the console for years, but after the last major content update in 2021, it started to feel like it had fallen behind Nintendo's other offerings. While this latest update may not have been quite as impressive content-wise compared to Happy Home Paradise in 2021, the technical improvements were noticeable. As a result, the New Horizons version for the Nintendo Switch 2 won't make upgrading mandatory. However, if you want to see how updated hardware could enhance one of the console's most enjoyable games, revisiting the island could be worthwhile. On the other hand, if you're feeling a bit saturated with deserted islands and tropical themes, it probably won't captivate you as much this time around.
New hardware, old sorrows.
If you've stayed away from Animal Crossing in any form over the past 20 years, this quirky life simulation game has left a lasting impact on its fans. New Horizons continued that legacy, providing comfort to many during difficult times. However, there is a downside. Even after 6 years, the deserted island theme can feel a little dull. I grew up playing New Leaf on the 3DS, and while I enjoyed New Horizons, I think the series felt more charming and lightly whimsical in its older town-based iterations. Moving from games like City Folk and New Leaf to the latest versions feels a bit like going from Twin Peaks to Sesame Street. The glory days of Animal Crossing are long gone. While I didn't feel any resentment toward New Horizons at the time, we're now in the game's 6th year. The game itself isn't bad. If you've never played it before, the Switch 2 version will be a fantastic experience. But if you've spent this much time in New Horizons, there's still plenty to enjoy, though it's hard to say whether this update is truly essential. After 6 years, it's hard not to feel that the deserted island theme has grown somewhat repetitive. Another notable change is Nintendo's resolution boost. In handheld mode, the Switch 2 moves from the old Switch's locked 720p up to 1080p, and in docked mode up to 4K. Speaking of handheld mode, the visual improvements are genuinely impressive. The colors are stunning, and the overall presentation in handheld mode is striking. However, both handheld and docked modes still run at 30 FPS. This isn't exactly bad, but it's worth noting. It's not revolutionary, since the original game already looked great on older hardware, but the improvements are noticeable. If you have a Switch 2 and want to spend some time on your island, you'll notice the new features in this updated version, but the game still runs very well on the original Switch. If you're expecting a locked frame rate, it's best to temper those expectations a bit.
Unleash your inner interior designer.
One of the most enjoyable aspects of the New Horizons Switch 2 update is the new ways it lets you control and customize your island. In particular, the game takes advantage of the Switch 2's new mouse controls. While this might not seem like a big deal at first, having so much freedom of movement with the mouse is genuinely satisfying. Using the controller always worked fine, but once you try the mouse controls in the Switch 2 version, going back feels almost impossible. Nintendo's engineering here is excellent, as the transition from mouse to traditional controller is seamless and smooth. If you've unlocked a lot of decor items, quickly moving around to customize homes feels like an entirely new experience. This is especially exciting when you consider that customizing Kapp'n's vacation island is a big part of this updated version. But while fun, it doesn't add much beyond what Happy Home Paradise already offered. In fact, since the DLC is still sold separately, this feels more like a simplified version of that content. The mouse controls are a perfect example of this. But if you've already played Happy Home Paradise, there's little here that will feel groundbreaking. Saying that having this much freedom of movement is satisfying might sound understated, but it really is. While not a game changer, some of the fun new details are very welcome. The Megaphone from New Leaf has returned, letting you hold the A button to call out a villager's name. It mostly works well, and seeing their reactions when you shout is incredibly cute. Other new features include easier ways to modify your island's geography, some increases in digging and storage limits, and the reduction of certain service costs that were a bit pricey in the original game. These changes make progression in the game feel smoother.
Should you update or not?
New Horizons on the Switch 2 may appeal most to those experiencing the game for the first time. In that sense, there's a huge amount of content and joy ahead, plenty to keep you busy for hundreds of hours. If you've already played the game on the original Switch, you might feel less excited. After all, it's a similar experience overall, and while the new features are nice, it's not exactly groundbreaking. In reality, if you already own the game, the update costs only $5, so it won't break the bank. That said, the deserted island theme has become quite familiar, and overcoming that would require an entirely new mainline Animal Crossing game. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem likely anytime soon, so this is the best option for now. Closing thoughts. Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 version won't offer anything revolutionary or world-changing, but if you're looking for a nice update for your new console, it's potentially worth diving into. However, if you're tired of the deserted island theme, there's nothing here that will fix that.